Adventures in Wonderland is a live-action puppet musical television series broadcast on the Disney Channel from 1992 to 1995 that was based on Lewis Carroll's novels Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. The series revolved around Alice travelling to Wonderland through a magic mirror in order to find solutions to problems she is facing, whereupon she partakes in a strange adventure with its inhabitants, which relates to her problem in some capacity. The show was another attempt by Disney to adapt one of their popular animated films into a serialized live-action television series, similar to the previously produced Welcome to Pooh Corner and Dumbo's Circus. White Rabbits Can't Jump was the second to last episode of the series to be produced, and was notable for featuring a guest appearance from actor and former football player O.J. Simpson. The basic plot of the episode revolved around the White Rabbit being reluctant to participate in the annual Wonderland Leap Year Games out of fear that he'll lose. He then receives encouragement from an imaginary representation of OJ, who gives him the courage he needs to take part. The games eventually end in a tie, with Rabbit having to take part in the tiebreaker event. He loses due to his poor jumping ability, but his spirits are lifted significantly when he is presented a second place trophy from the real O.J. Simpson. Production on the episode wrapped in late 1993, with it being set to air at some point the following year as part of the show's third and final season. The episode has yet to see a release of any sort, likely due to how poor taste the idealized portrayal of Simpson showcased in the episode would seem in hindsight. Ironically, the episode was one of only two throughout the entire series that was adapted into a picture book, and the accompanying images from said book are the only visual evidence of its existence. Adventures in Wonderland, like Pooh Corner and Dumbo's Circus, remained unavailable for streaming for many years following its release, and many episodes were considered lost, with Disney finally adding the broadcast episodes of all three series to Disney Plus on April 30th, 2021. When this took place, White Rabbits Can't Jump was still omitted, likely due to Simpson's cameo appearance and the episode being unaired during the show's original run. As such, the episode remains lost, with chances of it resurfacing being unlikely. Tupac Shakur was an American rapper and actor who rose to prominence throughout the 1990s through commercially and critically successful albums such as Tupacalypse Now, Strictly for My Niggaz, and Me Against the World. Another rising star from around the same time was actor and comedian Jim Carrey, who, after getting in the sketch comedy TV series Living in Color, would star in 3 hit comedies in the same year: Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber, which were all released in 1994. In 1995, Shakur was sentenced to 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison. For the first 8 months of his sentence, Shakur was forced to live in solitary confinement at New York's Clinton Correctional Facility. One of the few emotional reliefs that Shakur would receive during this time was letters from Carrey, who, after learning that he was Shakur's favourite actor, decided to send him humorous letters. Shakur had long professed his innocence in the case, and Carrey believed him, which also influenced Carrey's decision to try and add a bit of levity to his confined life in prison. Their correspondence during this time led to the two becoming close friends, with their friendship continuing beyond Shakur's time in prison. Even decades later, Carrey has refused to release their letters or even hint at their contents, although he is confirmed to have kept them. This is likely out of respect for Shakur, as he died in 1996 after being shot while on a trip to Las Vegas, Nevada for a boxing match. The exact nature and the contents of the letters remains unknown. The Cure for Insomnia is an 87-hour-long film directed by the late John Henry Timmis IV. At the time of the film's release in 1987, it was recognised by the Guinness World Records as the longest film ever created. The film consists of actor L.D. Groban reading a 40,080-page poem titled A Cure for Insomnia, spliced together with heavy metal music and pornography.
God damn it, we lost Clyde!
The film was made to cure insomnia by reprogramming the people's biological clocks. The film was shown at the School of the Art Institute in Chicago, Illinois, and it ran from the 31st of January to the 3rd of February, a whole 87 hours, although a shorter version running at 80 hours, with all the pornography sections removed, also existed. The film was never released to home video format, and all copies of the film, and the shorter version, are believed to be lost. The current IMDb page for the film has 5 reviews, although not all of them are positive. The first review, posted on the 6th of July 2019, gave it 1 star. by a user called Eddie the Martian 007. They claim to have watched the film 2 weeks ago, feeling broken and no more tired, in fact, even more awake after watching the movie. Another review, from Langstar1, also talks about the film negatively, describing it as mindless babble with no real plot. This review was from the 1st of May 2002, and they claim it took them a whole year to finish the film. A user by the name of Nancy Bechtel, N. Bechtel, did an entry from the 2nd of April 2019. It's not an actual review, but rather a tribute to Lee Groban, who died the same year. She claimed to have known him for 25 years, describing him as genuine and creative. Although in another entry, posted on the 24th of November, she said that she saw parts of the film, looking at it in awe, laughing and crying simultaneously.
And you made that film, didn't you?
Yeah.
And how long was the film?
85 hours.
And so how was it recognized?
Well, first it took us 2.5 years to produce, and we correspond with the Guinness people a few times. The first result was during that time was the last years that Andy Warhol was still around. So he told me that one of the editors told us that he created a movie that was slightly longer than ours was at the time, called Mondo Teeth, and then after a few to several months' time, we extended our movie to 85 hours. And then by the time our movie was that long, we had no other competitors.
You beat out Andy Warhol.
The final entry, from the 20th of December 2022, by Carol Charlie -77231, said that they never even watched the movie, giving it 1 out of 10 on the grounds that Lee Groban was all weirded out when being asked about the film in an interview, and the fact there was XXX material in it. They also say that it's strange that a film with heavy metal and pornography could possibly be considered as a cure for insomnia. There are 11 Google audience reviews where 5 people have written posts claiming to have seen the movie, with the most recent being on the 31st of March 2019. However, the authenticity of any of these claims has yet to be confirmed. There is an ongoing thread dedicated to finding the film on the Cammon Design Forum created by user Martisan starting on the 31st of July 2011. According to a post in May 2023, Timmins is having most of his work digitally released on Night Flight Plus. Groban's sister Deborah has apparently been contacted and possibly has a copy of the film. And on September the 20th, 2023, a user on the forum dedicated to finding the film posted a link to a January 25th, February 1st, 1992 episode of This Week in Joe's Basement, which showed a brief clip of the film where Groban begins reading a passage from the poem. This only constitutes for a few seconds of footage from an angle that doesn't focus directly on the film itself, however, and the characters begin to fast forward the film not even a minute into watching it. The clip begins at roughly 11 minutes. On the 15th of March 1977, NBC broadcast nationally and in prime time Godzilla vs. Megalon, a 1973 monster movie. It was the only installment of the Japanese Godzilla film franchise that had this privilege. Since the film had a goofy reputation, bumpers were filmed featuring Saturday Night Live actor and comedian John Belushi in a Godzilla suit. John Belushi as Godzilla would make snarky, though played straight for the character, remarks about the film and franchise, trashing his chair and then biting down on the movie reels. Belushi had previously played Godzilla in an SNL skit with Gilda Radner as Baba Wawa, a parody of Barbara Walters, treated as though the fictional monster were an actor in his own films. Given the amount of classic horror monster parodies on the first 5 years of SNL, it seems possible that Belushi was a Godzilla fan, and would have been honoured to film the bumpers for NBC. The broadcast was an hour long, requiring the movie to have half its 81-minute runtime cut. During those promos/bumpers, Belushi ends up repeating a common Godzilla film fallacy, promising that Godzilla vs. Megalon will not be like his other films. Given the description of the bumpers, it's entirely possible that his Godzilla character was supposed to be the same one that he portrayed alongside Baba Wawa. Since the bumpers aired when home video recording was at its infancy, it's unlikely that these bumpers will eventually resurface unless released by NBC themselves. Additionally, they were only shown during the original broadcast, which was only rerun once or twice soon after the first one, and they have not been seen since. Spelling Bee is an early BBC television service game show. Based on the radio show of the same name, 5 episodes were broadcast throughout 1938. In spite of its obscurity, it is listed by Guinness World Records as the first television game show. The show's name showcases its premise, pitting contestants to spell a series of words that increase in difficulty as the game progresses. The television show got its origins from its radio version, which began when the BBC paired with the National Broadcasting Company, NBC, to broadcast 2 United Kingdom versus United States Spelling Bee matches in January 1938. Here, the show was around 45 minutes long, with contestants receiving 30 seconds to spell out the given word to score points. Any errors were signified by an obnoxious bell, with the opposing player being offered the chance to correct said error for a bonus point. According to UK game shows, the radio version of Spelling Bee was itself the first British radio game show. With the radio show being a critical success, the BBC were convinced that the radio show could be adapted into a television programme. Therefore, in issue 763 of Radio Times, a promotion from The Scanner invited members of the public the chance to appear on the show, providing they regularly viewed television and had a talent for spelling. Selected individuals would team against a set of television stars in a spelling bee competition held at Alexandra Palace. In total, 5 episodes were broadcast, starting from the 31st of May 1938, where viewers competed against television artists. The 18th of June and 10th of July episodes also featured regular viewers against television artists. In the 7th of August edition, viewers faced a set of television musicians. Finally, on the 1st of September, an inter-school spelling bee was broadcast, direct from Radio Olympia. Freddie Griswold reprised his radio show role as the spelling master in at least the first 3 episodes, with E. Powers Mathers as a master of the dictionary for the 3rd episode, and Mary Adams and Philip Bate being presenters of the 3rd and 4th episodes respectively. The episodes also ranged in length from 10 to 30 minutes. No further episodes were produced, most likely due to a decline in popularity, as the inevitability of World War II began to loom over by the start of 1939. Like other early BBC television broadcasts, Spelling Bee was broadcast live in an era where direct recordings of the show were not possible. Therefore, all 5 episodes are permanently missing. While photographs and some behind-the-scenes film footage of the radio version exist, none concerning the television counterpart have resurfaced. Journey into Time was the pilot to a planned radio show based off of the British sci-fi TV series Doctor Who. Although an additional 52 episodes were planned, the series never came to fruition, and the pilot was never broadcast on any radio shows. The plot concerned the Doctor travelling back in time with his granddaughter Susan to the American Revolution. The backstory of the Doctor Who character in this story was going to be a mix of the Dalek films and that of the original TV series. The Doctor and Susan are from the far future of Earth where time travel is possible, but a malfunction in their machine makes it so they cannot choose where to land. They decide to spend some time in the 60s to investigate the issue, where Susan begins going to school and meets a character named Mike, who may have joined them on their time-travelling adventures. Other characters included Miss Jennings, George, Mr. Logan, Inspector, and Launder, all of which, like Susan, were played by unknown actors. Although the story was advertised as starring Peter Cushing, it's decidedly certain that he would not actually have been playing the same version of the character in this series as he did in the films. When the pilot was submitted for approval, it was rejected, with the head of sound drama at the time, Martin Esslin, writing, "As a typical commercial production for unsophisticated listeners in Australia, or even some parts of the United States, it stands up quite well. As a piece of science fiction, however, it strikes me as extremely feeble." No recordings of the production are known to exist. In 1989, David J. Howe attempted several possible leads that all wound up being dead ends. Contacting the address of Stanmark Productions given on trade advertisements for the series, sending letters to all of Stanmark's overseas distributors, tracing Stanmark through the company's register, and even writing to Peter Cushing and his agent, although it's unknown if they actually responded or not. And if they did, it's unlikely they knew anything. In 2012, Malcolm Hulke's original script was unveiled in a 2012 Nothing at the End of the Lane publication. Richard Bignell discovered the script in a routine pursual of the BBC archives in the early 2010s. Bignell remains hopeful to find the pilot itself, claiming that at least 2 copies are known to have been made. The script is still publicly available in the 3rd issue of the fanzine, In 2012, after the script was found, Beermat Productions, formerly Bandrel Productions, produced a fan adaptation. Although it's no longer available on YouTube, it can be found on their website. Star Stuff was a 1980s children's television program recorded and set in contemporary Philadelphia about a boy called Chris, Todd Porter, and a girl called Ingrid, Joanna Hickley. Chris lived in 1980 and Ingrid lived in 2010 on a space colony called Alpha. A decade before the internet and means of modern-day online communication was born, Chris was able to communicate with Ingrid through his own homemade computer television, with her communicating with her own special computer that could be used to educate others throughout time on what her modern Earth is like. They would often share video clips of Laurel and Hardy Laugh Tunes and Kids World, a children's news show. Sub-shows within the hour-long program included The Edge of Space with Crinkles, Zornad, and Giz, short for Gizmo. Episodes tended to focus on surprisingly serious and genuine topics such as loneliness, divorce, and childhood crushes. According to puppeteer Mark Ritz, the sub-shows were filmed separately when the main cast were learning their lines and rehearsing for the live-action segments, so he never interacted with them directly. The opening and closing music consisted of a melange of music from Gustav Holst's The Planet Suit, movements 4 and 6, or Jupiter and Uranus. When the show ended, reruns were shown at either 6 or 6:30 in the morning on Saturdays until the spring of 1991. After which the show quietly vanished. Only 18 episodes were produced during its season-long run, of which only 4, 7, 11, 17, and 18 are currently viewable online. According to the description on the YouTube uploads, the original tapes of the show were not preserved, with the surviving episodes being sourced from Betamax tapes. Thanks to a website dedicated to the show, some newspaper clippings detailing the show's broadcast, as well as a partially surviving episode of an equally obscure, locally produced kids show called Candy Apple News Company, all survive. And an active hunt for the lost material is continued by fans of the show.